I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ms. Burns, roll call, please.
Mr. Sullivan?
Present.
Mrs. Hallenbeck?
Present.
Mr. Allen is absent with prior notice. Mrs. Burgess?
Present.
Mrs. Lafferty?
Here.
Mrs. Marshall is also absent with prior notice. Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Sporny is absent with prior notice, and also Mrs. Waldweiser is absent with prior notice. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters of employment, issues related to labor relations, the purchase of real property, matters related to litigation, and matters related to school safety and security. Mrs. Burns, any announcements?
There are no announcements.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. As we usually do, we're having a very busy summer around the district. This week, our Neshaminy Summer Stock Program is celebrating its 58th year with performances of 3 shows. Tomorrow afternoon, the senior main stage show, Mean Girls, opens in Theodore Cluse Auditorium at 7 p.m. Tomorrow in the Black Box Theater, our youngest performers will open their show, the 50th Annual Non-Scaring Monsters Convention at 1 p.m. The junior main stage show this year is Disney's The Descendants, which opens on Thursday at Theodore Cluse Auditorium at 11 a.m. All 3 shows run through Sunday. I'm told the tickets for all 3 shows are selling very well, but there will be some available at the door for both the main stage shows. This morning, they had a visit from Good Day Philadelphia and got to perform a couple of their songs on live TV. A couple weeks ago, our Neshaminy football coaches and team hosted the annual youth football camp at the high school. And despite the heat wave that lasted most of the week, the kids had a great time and picked up some new skills. More team camps are scheduled for the next few weeks, and the start of fall sports practices and band camp are just a few short weeks away. Finally, I have a couple of special recognitions to share. First, I want to thank our facilities and grounds crews who have been working through the recent heat waves. It's been a very busy time of year for them, and the extreme temperatures definitely make their jobs more challenging. I want to give special thanks to the IT crew who jumped right in to quickly fix computer issues that resulted from the major software glitch that affected the entire world this past weekend. Even during the summer, we have hundreds of computers in the district that are active, and each needed to be touched and updated with the software patch. The IT team have been busy getting that done, and I thank them for their efforts. And that's all I have, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Ms. Burns, any public comment?
There are no public sign-ups.
Okay. All right, moving along. That brings us to routine matters. I'd like to make a master motion to approve item 2.01 minutes, 2.02 bids, 2.03 exonerations. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Lafferty. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Personnel administrative. 3.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following retirements, resignations of administrative staff. And there's one, Robert Botha. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments, questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mrs. Brocious.
I would like to make a master motion for 4.01 retirement resignations, end of assignment, 4.02 appointments, 4.03 leaves of absence, 4.04 ancillary appointments, 4.05 co-curricular appointments, 4.06 and ancillary resignations.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Personnel support, Mrs. Lafferty.
I'd like to make a master motion, 5.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments, 5.02, appointments, 5.03, leaves of absence, 5.04 ancillary appointments. That's
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Brochus. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Business operations, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I'd like to make a master motion for 6.01 Contracted Transportation Services, STA Contract Addendum, 6.02 BCIU Truancy Services Agreement, 6.03 Summer Work Approval, 6.05 Revised Contract Services for 2024 through 2025. I would also like to point out for 6.01, it says it's a 3-year addendum, but it is only, in fact, a 1-year addendum.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mrs. Hollenbeck.
I'd like to make a motion for 6.04 Neshaminy Kids Club donation. Whereas the Neshaminy Kids Club has offered to donate to the Herbert Hoover Library not to exceed $25,000. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves to accept the aforementioned donation from the Neshaminy Kids Club.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Lafferty. Comments or questions? Other than we would
No,
like to
I would-
thank the Neshaminy
Yeah,
Kids
I would
Club.
love to thank Kathleen Carmona and her entire staff at the Neshaminy Kids Club for the donation.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Rodriguez, Educational Development.
I'd like to make a master motion for 7.01 Student Settlement Agreement and 7.02 Discovery Education Agreement.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. That brings us to the closing of the meeting. Anyone have any other board business? Anybody from the public wish to approach the podium? Any board comment? In that case, there's attachment here regarding future meetings. The next meeting is on August 20th at 7 p.m. Public board meeting in this room. If there's no other business, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nobody.
Thank you. Enjoy your night.